The pop-up screen on this Peugeot 308cc isn't working. This is a common fault on a lot of Peugeot models with this type of screen, including the RCZ, 5008, 3008, as well as some Citroen models. Peugeot only sell a full replacement screen, which is very expensive. However, if your screen is entirely black or works partly, then it's most likely just a broken wire. This screen pops up and moves as it should, but the display is not showing anything except for an occasional flicker. So we are going to remove it and repair the faulty cable. We start by prizing off the surrounding trim with a trim removal tool. Put that to one side. Now we need to remove these two screws. These are Torx screws and you will need a T20 Torx bit. I will provide links in the description where you can buy all the tools and parts needed to do this entire job. Once you have removed the screws, then carefully lift out the screen. You'll see two cables connected to the screen. Start by unclipping the lower brown connector. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Broken Fixed. Have a quick look at this connector as well as the pins to check for any corrosion or defects. These all look good. This cable on the side is what usually causes the problem. It moves constantly when the screen lifts, and after time the wire can break and the connections fail. With a trim removal tool, pull out the top part of the heater control fascia and slide out the ashtray for some extra room. You need some radio keys to remove the head unit. Insert these into the holes at the side of the head unit. To make pulling out the head unit easier, it's best to remove the storage compartment just below it and the two Torx screws just below that. As with the upper screws, these are also T20 Torx. While you don't strictly need to remove these, it just makes things looser so you can get the head unit out easier. With the trim removal tool, you should be able to pop out the storage trim. Now with the radio keys in place, you should be able to use the trim removal tool to take out the head unit. We need to disconnect this cable. Once you've pulled that out, then there is nothing left holding the screen in place, so feed the cable through the dashboard and remove the screen. If you wanted to replace the entire screen, this is where your part number is. But we are not going to do that. We will remove the cable, test it and splice in a new one. Pop off the back of the screen. You should be able to do this with your hands or the trim removal tool. Once the top part is off, then it should lift off. Now we can see the cable we need to remove. Pull out the cable connector. These are 10-pin cables, but there is no cable for connector pin 3 or pin 8, so there are actually only 8 cables running through this wire. Have a quick look to check for corrosion or defects. Pull up and remove this red clip. With that out, you will be able to push out the cable holder on the side of the unit. Now feed the cable out of the screen. On the side, you need to remove these 2 screws. These are Torx screws, and you will need a T5 screwdriver bit. Once they're out, this piece of plastic just slides away. This is the cable that usually fails and causes the problems. With a multimeter, we can test to see which connection has failed. Let's start by testing the earth connection. This looks good. We are going to use sewing needles in each connector to see if there is a complete circuit. If you look closely at the connectors, you will see number 1 in one corner and number 5 in the other, so you know which pin is connected to which. There are a total of 10 pins, however, as mentioned before, this is an 8-wire cable and connector 3 and 8 are not live. All the other pins should show a complete circuit. If not, then your cable has failed. This is testing pin number 1. This is a complete circuit, so it's still connected and working. However, pin 9 is not showing a complete circuit and is broken. After testing all the pins, there were a total of 3 not working. We are going to cut both ends off this cable and solder in a new piece. Cut the cable and strip out each wire inside. Leave enough cable so you can attach a new wire to it. We need an 8-cable wire to splice in. A standard Ethernet cable has 8 wires, so I'm using one of them. I mark up the end that fits in the screen. Next, we remove the plastic pieces from the original wire. This piece is held in place with a small black cable tie. Snip the tie and cable comes out. The larger piece is just clipped in place. If you unclip it, the wire will drop out. The cable removed from this part doesn't feel right. My guess is this is where the broken wire is. Set these pieces aside as you will be putting them on the new wire later. Measure the Ethernet cable against this old cable and cut out the piece you need a little longer. Strip back the wires on both ends of the Ethernet cable. Solder in each wire at a time. The colors of my Ethernet cable wires are different to the original cable, so I do one complete wire both ends to make sure I don't get them mixed up. Once you have soldered a wire, insulate it with a small piece of electrical tape. Once you've done all 8, you should end up with something like this. My Ethernet cable isn't earthed, so I remove a single length of wire from the rest of the Ethernet cable and solder that in place of the earth. Once that's soldered in, cover the ends with electrical tape. With the final wire looking like this, tightly pack it together with electrical tape over the soldered areas. And tape up the earth wire to the main cable. So the end result is something like this. While this may not be the neatest job, it should provide a complete circuit, and it's an inexpensive alternative to buying a new screen. On the plastic clip that had the small cable tie on, insert a new small cable tie. Now we are going to feed our newly made wire into this. Measure an approximate length from the connector to the end of the screen. Squeeze the new cable into place from the chamfered side of the connector, ensuring not to damage the earth wire. Once that's in, then slide in the connector through the hole on the side of the screen fascia. Now plug in the cable. Tuck the cable snugly at the top of the circuit board. Now you need to push in this plastic clip. This is circular with 2 flat edges, so will only go in one way. Make sure the hook part is facing away from you. Check the connection and check the cable. If everything looks good, then replace the red clip you removed earlier. Now you need to cable tie the cable in place. You can see the recess where the original cable was sat. With this in place, you can snip off the excess from the cable tie. Ideally, you want the notch part of the cable tie right at the top, as I had to move this up later when refitting the screen in the car. Now fit the second clip. Leave enough length of cable as this moves when the screen moves. Once you have that clipped on, you can slide that into place and reattach the 2 T5 Torx screws. Next, clip back into place the screen cover. This should all be fixed, so let's fit it back in the car. first thing is to feed the new cable from the top to the head unit. Push the cable back into the head unit. Next we need to reconnect this brown cable to the bottom of the screen. With them connected, slide the screen into place, making sure nothing catches anywhere. Once you're happy with the fit, reconnect the two Torx screws. Now push in and clip the outer trim piece into place. With that done, we now slide the head unit back in. Once it's clipped in, remove your radio keys. If you removed these two Torx screws, then replace these now. Next, slide back in the storage tray. This has a locator point at the back which sits in a hole to fit it correctly. Finally, lift back into place the lower trim. You need 2 hands to do this. And replace the ash tray. With everything back in place, let's test our screen. Start the car. It pops up okay. And there is the Peugeot Lion. It moves okay. Everything is working and the screen is nice and clear. Job done.